Welcome back to Spotlight, and I want to welcome my guests, His Excellency Governor John Duncan and Permanent Secretary David Archer. Welcome to Spotlight.
Jacinka, it's always a pleasure. Glad to be back.
Yeah, you're making this a habit. Kind of like the Spotlight.
Hopefully not a bad habit.
Kind of like the Spotlight. But it's good to have you anyway. The 90th birthday of the Queen is coming up. It's next the
21st of April.
21st of April. And you planned a big celebration.
We do. It's a major turning point, but it's also very important for the territory because the Queen's birthday is a moment when we reaffirm who we are. We're not the USVI, we're the British Virgin Islands. Some would say the Virgin Islands, but we're all British. And that's quite important in terms of reaffirming the identity of the people of the Virgin Islands. And so it's a key moment. This year we decided, the Cabinet asked me to ask the Palace if we could move the celebrations to our actual birthday, because it's the 21st, the 90th on the 21st. And the Palace agreed to that, so that actually we're going to have it during the period when tourists are here. Everyone can see that we're the British Virgin Islands. It's also a special time because it's her 90th birthday. It's also, for a third reason, it's the 50th anniversary of her very first visit to the Virgin Islands. So it's quite a special moment.
A double occasion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. And I can't help but ask you, because you emphasize so much that we are British. And I remember Governor McCleary. So the last two governors that I've encountered have been sticklers, if I could use the Yiddish term, for making sure that we know that we are British. Do
you not know it yourselves?
Well, I don't feel British. I feel Virgin Islander, and I think culturally we are more tied to the United States.
Would you like to be part of the United States Virgin Islands?
No, I wouldn't like to be a part of any of them, the United States or Britain, for that matter, but that's another issue.
You're an independentist.
Yeah, I'm an independentist, yes. And, but, is that a problem in the minds of the UK, that the BVI Islanders are not British enough?
I don't know how you make that deduction.
By the fact that there's so much emphasis being placed on, and this has never happened before,
What has never happened before?
Governors emphasizing making sure that we know that we are British. It was just assumed that we were the British Virgin Islands. We knew we were a territory of Britain, of the United Kingdom, and so we really didn't have to be constantly reminded. As we have been since Governor McCleary and now you. It seemed to be like y'all have, England got a problem that her colonies are not British enough.
I don't accept that. I can't speak for Governor McCleary. I can only say what you've heard me say since I came here nearly 2 years ago, is that as a society which has gone through such huge change in the past 2 generations, nearly quadrupled the population, gone from being a very quiet economic part of the Caribbean to being part of the global economy, going from not having a governor to having full ministerial government. It's quite important in those moments for the society to reaffirm who they are. And things like the Salt Island ceremony, you've heard me talking with the Exchange the other day, I think that's quite an important thing for people to reaffirm who they are when they've gone through such immense economic, social and political change. And you've got a lot of people here who are not BV Islanders. And if you want them to understand who you are, it's important to reaffirm that publicly. And this is just an opportunity to do that. As the Salt Island ceremony was just over a week ago, where, as you heard me say, that episode, to my mind, captures what it means to be a BV Islander. As an outsider, when I see BV Islanders, what are the qualities that stand out? It's self-reliance, it's entrepreneurship, it's integrity, it's care for other people, doing the right thing. Now, to my mind, that's what BV Islanders stand for as an outsider. David may have a different view, you may have a different view, but...
No, I happen to agree. I have to agree with those things. I grew up and in fact, I've been saying this in the last several weeks, and I've said it many, many, many times, that I grew up where everyone around me was an entrepreneur. I don't know. We're not customer working for people.
Yeah,
You-
and
you
you
know what I'm
see the
saying?
results of that
Yeah.
when we had Richard Branson out here and Lord Hastings only a few weeks back. You can see that remains part of who the BV Islanders are. But a lot of people here, I mean, 2/3 of the population are not BV Islanders. And we need to
Well, not
remind
quite
them.
2/3.
that-
I don't want to get...
well, roughly, whatever
okay.
it is, it's certainly more than half.
Okay, that's better.
So if that's the situation and you want people in your island, in your community to understand who you are, you have to consciously reaffirm it. Now, it's not something particular to BVI. The British have had to do it. The English in particular, when we had devolution. As a Scotsman, we're very sure who we are. And we're not surrounded by a lot of other nationalities, so we don't need to reaffirm who we are. Although, as a small nation in a bigger nation, we actually started doing this a very long time ago. And it's just an opportunity next week to take that British part of what it means to be a member of the British Virgin Islands and select on that.
Okay.
David, do you want to add something to that?
Of course. Naturally, we have an identity, and it's important that regardless of what person's opinions might be about that identity, that we know what it is and we can articulate it. Because you can't have a strong position on something unless you understand its origin. So my approach has always been to understand. We are British. We are the British Virgin Islands. Of course, we have dropped off the British to distinguish ourselves as being the Virgin Islands. We are the Virgin Islands, but it's part of history. It's part of knowing who we are. It's part of even understanding some of the struggles that we've been through to know what the umbrella is which rules and governs us, and we are British.
Okay. Well, and interestingly enough, even though I don't feel being British to that level of passion, you know, I accept it as a political fact. But I dislike the fact that we have changed from British Virgin Islands to Virgin Islands. I don't think that makes any sense at all.
Okay.
And just particularly in light of the fact that we've been branded the British Virgin Islands. I don't know why we went through that problem. I mean, if we are in fact the Virgin Islands on paper, on the record, that's fine.
Yes.
But we have already been branded, and to tie ourselves to the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, that is has such a perhaps a not as good a reputation internationally as we have. And have to explain that to tourists that, you know, well, we're not St. Thomas, you know, we are the British Virgin Islands. I just thought that was really an affront to our brand.
So
But
you're saying
that's a different issue.
But you're saying then keep the British.
British Virgin Islands was fine with me. If we were going to change from British Virgin Islands, you know, we would change to a name of a more significant portion of our history. You
Of
know.
course. But that in itself, when you say we are the British Virgin Islands, it sounds differently to when we say we are the Virgin Islands. So there has to be some reflection on why we say it, and we say it with such passion. When we say we're the British Virgin Islands and we make that distinction, most of the time we're saying we're not the United States of
Virgin.
America.
That's right.
We are actually
The
British.
so yes.
Even that particular comment, when people stress that point, even though we might not, let's say, drink tea at a particular hour, if that can be considered British, in our own very unique way, we have identified with being British. The mere fact that it bothers some people that we've taken it off is a tag that we actually want. Why do we want it? Because there's something that possibly resonate with being the British Virgin Islands versus the U.S. Virgin Islands that we want to hold on to, I would think.
Well, there's a social economic component of that name brand that I'm particularly interested in. You know, but I don't know if we go because
A little bit off subject.
you started it. You started it.
But I think next week is, just to go back to what you were saying, next week is a moment in the year when we celebrate that aspect of of your and our culture, and the fact that we are part of a big family. And Britishness is a concept which is multicultural. Modern day Britishness is very much multicultural, and therefore that's an important thing to embrace. And it's also to celebrate the person of Her Majesty the Queen, because this extraordinary person, who has been our longest living monarch, who has been here twice, has a great affection for the British Virgin Islands. And when I went to see her in March last year, was absolutely on top of what was happening here, talked to me very, it wasn't just well briefed. This is a person who knew the subject well, who knew what the British Virgin Islands was all about, understood the problems that we were facing and the challenges we face today, and had an affection for the islands, having been here twice. So it's a moment to wish her a happy birthday and celebrate the fact that we're British.
Okay. And well, let's go into what the celebration is going to be like. I mean, I'm tempted to go into the other things, but we'll get to the relationship a little later, because I think it's important that we get into the celebration, actual celebration, before we run out of time.
Yes.
And the celebrations in some ways have started already, because there was the salt breaking, the reenactment of the salt breaking ceremony in Salt Island just under 2 weeks ago. And that was one of the beginnings of that movement. But there are many other things that David can tell you about that we are planning to be part of the celebrations that are going on in the island of the United Kingdom, but also across the realm. So
but I want to, if I may, the salt breaking and gifting ceremony.
Yes.
I mean, is that part of our tradition, the giving of, how much?
a pound of salt.
A pound of salt to the Queen, is that part of our tradition?
According to oral history.
Okay, because I don't remember, because I live right above the wharf that the boats used to leave from to go to Salt Island during the time when it was right to pick the salt. And it used to be a big event. And they would go to Salt Island, pick the salt, they had the big lard pans and,
Yes.
and come back with buckets and pans full of salt, because that was our preservative at that time. We didn't have refrigeration. We used to corn the fish, corn the meat, and and chicken and whatever left over, we corn it and have it sun dried until we wanted to eat it in the future. But I never heard of gifting the Queen with a pound of salt until this event.
Well, it's in the oral history. There were articles about it in, for example, Welcome magazine, and some of the documents that I read when I was preparing to come out here.
Oh, okay.
And if you ask the Salt Islanders, they'll tell you, yes, this is the tradition and it's part of our oral history. So,
Yeah, I had Luce on.
Who am I to say they're wrong?
I had Luce on the radio, and she said that was she's a Salt Island descendant.
Yes, yes.
And so she was reminding me that was in fact a ceremony. What was there symbolism to that? I mean, I was trying to understand the reason for
Well, according to the history as it's been recounted to me, the island was given to the islanders as a result of their behavior when the RMS Rhone went down. And the Queen was struck by this, Queen Victoria at the time, and she said they should have the island, and the islanders said, well, we should pay some rent, and I'm abbreviating the story here, and they decided that it should be a pound of salt.
Oh, okay.
Now, the breaking ceremony...
That's annual rent? For the island?
Annual rent.
Oh, okay.
And the salt breaking ceremony hasn't been enacted since 1974. It's the last record that we have of it. So it hasn't happened for a very long time. But it is it's a nice ceremony.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
The police fire the gun. The governor sort of declares the ponds open. It's a nice ceremony.
Okay.
We don't need that anymore, but it's a lovely part of our heritage, and it's worth reenacting that. It's a nice ceremony.
I mean, for me, I need to understand why we're doing what we're doing. I don't like to just do things willy-nilly. So I think that, and I'm really glad I asked, because I learned that right now. Okay, so we had the salt breaking ceremony on March the 24th, and what you have coming up?
Well, we have been, the governor, the deputy governor, other members of the committee, we've been going to different schools, speaking to the school children about the Queen's birthday parade, about her 90th birthday, and what it means to the territory, and really just taking part in wishing the Queen a happy birthday. Anyone who reaches the age of 90, that's a great celebration. and you crown that with the fact that is the Queen, I think we should, and what we've been doing is a whole lot more in terms of the schools. That's one thing. We also have an essay competition, and you're probably going to love this topic. The topic is, what does it mean to me to be British?
I've heard about
Yeah.
it.
So right now we have about 11 persons have actually made their submissions. And it's going to be interesting to read that because I think it might stem from what you've talked about earlier. What does it mean?
Yeah.
And just to see the creativity of some persons, but to have an understanding of what that British Virgin Islands means.
Are we going to
versus that-
publish
And is the
those?
deadline still open for that? Or
The,
is it
the deadline the deadline is today.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to extend the deadline again, no?
I'm sure if one
Up to the very last.
if one comes through the email, we will be able
So
to.
what are you going to do with the essays?
well,
You're going to publish them? You're going to.
they will be made public.
Okay,
We'll
that'd be
at
interesting.
one of the. I'll speak about. We're having some beacon lighting ceremonies. We'll read one of the official winners there, just to let the people know what persons have actually submitted.
Okay.
There's going to be a stamp unveiling ceremony on the 20th.
Do you have any pictures of what the stamp looks like?
Well, you put up on the screen the picture of Her Majesty when she started, and there you go, that's the one.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, they're all based loosely around that,
Yeah.
but they're very beautiful, very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And
And how much? What's the value of the stamp? It is a stamp that we're going to actually put on mail.
You could do, but
Yes.
it'd be worth sort
More of
of
a
saving it
collector's item,
because
yeah.
it's going to be
So it's not going to
very
be.
rare.
It's not going to be published as a stamp for sale in the post office.
Yeah, you can
Yes,
buy it
yes.
if you want to.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
but of course, collectors they will
Yes.
have the special edition.
Okay.
Along the same line, on the 21st, which is the actual holiday, Thursday, we're going to have a parade, a larger parade than normal because it's the Queen's 90th birthday, from the House of Assembly to the festival grounds. And there we'll have our annual celebration where the governor will go through, he'll do his inspection of the different organizations who will be there, and do some cheers for the Queen, celebrate, and just be in a jovial spirit. We're also going to sing happy birthday, Virgin Island style, to the Queen. You know, happy birthday
Yeah,
to
yes,
you.
yes,
So
yes.
I can't sing, but that's going to be our approach, just in a special way. In the evening on all of the islands, the Virgin Gorda, Anegada, Jos Van Dyke, we're going to have beacon lighting ceremonies. And that's just another activity by which we're gonna recognize in a symbolic way by lighting beacons to celebrate the Queen's 90th birthday. That's on all the islands, Jos Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, and also on Totola.
And that will be part of a chain of beacons that will start in United Kingdom and go right the way around the realm. All the places that are a part of the realm will
We'll be lighting beacons at the
yeah,
same
and
time.
Yes.
we'll be part of that.
Okay. And what time will that take? 6:30.
6:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Something else which I'll mention is not an activity, but we have, I hope that you have the picture here, we have some license plates.
Okay.
You can
Which are
actually,
fantastic.
you can actually purchase a
we
license
go.
plate.
There you go.
There it is. And they have been selling extremely well.
Yeah. I put mine in. I didn't get 007. That was already
I
snaffled.
tried for 007 also. That was not available.
Okay. So you could select numbers from what to what?
0 to 300.
Okay. So it's only 300 plates.
Only
They're only
300.
They must,
300,
they
so
must be
get-
gone.
get
they
in-
must be gone
get in
by, they
quick,
must be
huh?
gone by now. So that's a collector. So you could use that on your
On your
car
vehicle,
for-
yes.
forever
absolutely.
if you
Yeah,
want.
Yes.
absolutely right.
Okay. And then
So-
how much the place
250.
cost?
Yeah.
250.
Okay. And what you gonna do with the money?
Well, the money goes into the government's overall coffers, so it's
Oh.
just part of
Okay.
the
I thought
government's
it would have
budget.
been like a special gift fund something. I don't know.
No.
Offset
In
some of
remembrance of.
offset some of the
Offset
costs of
some of the
setting
costs.
the event. I mean, as David has described, it's a serious purpose, but it's also about having fun. So I'm really pleased that we've got all the voluntary sectors. We've got veterans this year.
Yes.
Have specifically asked ex-service people, specifically asked to come and parade in the parade. And we also have a Royal Naval ship, HMS Mersey, will be with us. So we'll have a contingent from the Royal Navy parading with our people. So, it will be a very collective and fun series of events.
Okay. And you have a commemorative booklet.
Yes.
Yeah. What was going to be in that booklet? What sort of things you could look forward to?
You can look forward to seeing, of course, the Queen's first visit in 1966. Also her second visit, 1977.
My picture might be in there.
It might
Could well be.
might be. You were probably just 10 at that time. But
Actually, I was, yes. Actually, I was.
Just something which is a reflection of the Virgin Islands and or a token of our appreciation for the Queen's rule and guide of the Virgin Islands. Something that you can keep for a very long time, share to generations to come.
Yeah, cool.
And of course, at the ceremony, we'll honor persons for service, the long service medals for the police, prison, fire, and so forth.
And that would be on the day itself.
On the actual day.
And that ceremony takes place on the
On the
festival
festival
ground.
ground. The parade starts at 1:30, and this is probably going to be a lighter note. It's also a kind of dress-up affair. So you see the ladies with the nice hats, nice dress, and they walk through on the red carpet, and we just act rather royal.
No one told me there was going to be a dress code.
No.
No, this is the first I'm hearing that.
Well,
Yeah.
when your invitation came out, it said it's lounge suit for men, hats recommended.
For men as well?
Hats
Men can wear
recommended.
hats as
Oh,
well.
okay.
And then for ladies is hat preferred. So we want to, and if you look at the old pictures from 1966, I saw some of them, and even 77, the fashion with the men and the women, even the children on the side of the road in their amazing dresses, it's something that we're hoping to replicate on the 21st, a Thursday, just to have fun and have a great celebration.
I have my eye on a fedora in one of the shops in, I won't tell you which one, in Main Street. But
I might get it
But
first.
I'm not allowed to worry, but maybe David will get it.
That's right. And David is a hat man.
Yes.
Yeah. Relationship with Britain and, well, I don't know, this is an odd time to talk about the relationship with Britain, especially to me, because I'm angry at Britain. I have to say that up front so that you know you're in a hostile environment. But talk to us about a relationship from your perspective with Great Britain. What do you think that relationship is and what you think it ought to be?
That's a how long is a piece of string question. The last few weeks have been quite difficult. I think one has to be honest and say that they have been rather difficult discussions. I think obviously we're in a climate, financial climate of particular nature. There is a very, very strong push against supposed tax havens, quote unquote, which we deny that we're a tax haven, quite rightly so. And Prime Minister Cameron has said BVI is not a tax haven. So nonetheless, there is a very strong lobby of NGOs and journalists pushing very, very hard on this agenda. And I think it's been, honest to say, it's been very difficult. But the Premier has led a very strong team, negotiating very, very hard, and came to an acceptable agreement. And I think perhaps more difficult for the British authorities to recognize that BVI was going to defend its patch, and that our patch is different to that of Cayman and that of Bermuda. We're a different economy, we do different things in the global economy, and that we were going to defend it hard. We were not going to say, yes, yes, we'll do everything and then not do it. We were going to defend with integrity a deal, and when we did it, we would abide by it. And so that's what happened essentially last week. We got a deal, the Premier signed it, the British Minister signed it on Monday, and the other territories have also signed very similar agreements.
But
so
isn't that deal harmful to our health? I mean,
I think you can trust the Premier not to sign a deal that was harmful to our health.
well, I mean, I don't know. Under coercion and force, anything is possible.
I don't think the Premier is someone who's open to coercion.
But if secrecy is a tenet of financial services,
But it's
of
not.
Privacy, I should say.
Confidentiality and privacy.
And it's an embarrassment to me for the world to know how much money I'm making. I remember specifically when it was published that I had a government contract and how much the government was paying me, how I felt about that.
Then why do you feel that this deal compromises that?
Because if it's the publishing of beneficial ownership and to let...
But we're not publishing beneficial ownership.
Well...
Do you want to know what we are doing?
Is it in the... Yes, I want to know what we're doing. Is it in the agreement that what we give to the UK, the information we give to the UK, they are going to keep it secret? Private?
They will keep it secret and private. Let's keep it private, unless it gets into a court matter. This is not about pursuing people who are behaving themselves and breaching their confidentiality. This is a deal which allows people who are doing wrong, wrongdoers, money launderers, people like that, people involved in the drugs trade and other illegal activities. If there are suspicions about such people and they happen to be owners of BVI companies, the UK is going to come to us and ask us, do you know anything about this person? We will talk to them and say, this is what we know about that person. But unless there's a court case, that information stays private.
But
So it's not a public register.
Okay, okay, because I think the public needs to know
No, it's
that
not
it's
a public
not a public
register.
and I'm hoping and I'm sure that the actual agreement would be made public and explained in detail to the public, so that we feel confident that our bread and butter is not we wake up one morning and find ourselves in the road because we can't pay our mortgage.
No, it's not at all like that, and I don't think people should be concerned about it. Having worked past in my career on people, particularly Saddam Hussein in my particular instance, who were trying to get hold of very sensitive technologies to build nuclear weapons and missiles. And in fact, I designed it within the Foreign Service, a system which would allow us to track what those sort of people were doing from our information. And this is a similar structure. What it does is allow law enforcement, the police, the Serious Fraud Office, the crime agencies, to track people who are doing wrong. And honest individuals who are not doing anything wrong, their privacy will be respected. So we've set up, or will set up, the changes in legislation took place last year. So the Premier, will explain this more to you, but just briefly to reassure you that this is probably going to be one of the best systems in the world to track people who are doing wrong, money laundering and drugs trafficking and all those sort of things. It is not, and meanwhile it will protect those people who have the right to privacy. And that's been really the most difficult argument the Premier's had to face, is actually getting that balance right and getting the British government to agree to get that balance right. And he did it and signed the agreement when he'd got it on the Friday.
It's costing us between $8 and $10 million for public relations to have to deal with this issue. And I was hoping that our relationship with Britain would help foot some of that bill.
Do you think the British should foot some of that bill?
Well,
I will pass your wishes on.
You should be doing more. You should be doing more. And I have spoken to you about this before. Voice my disappointment and displeasure that I know. Yes, Prime Minister Cameron stood up and he said BVI is not a tax haven, but
and he said a bit more than that yesterday.
But he didn't say it often enough to more people and more emphatically. And I ain't hear nothing from you at all.
I will pass that on to
but
Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom.
There's some good things about the relationship between the BVI and the UK.
It's fundamental to our economic success. The very fact that we have English law, legal structures which go right up to the Privy Council are one of the main reasons that people come and incorporate in this territory. It's fundamental to the economic success of the BVI. And just come back to what David Cameron said yesterday. It's worth going and look it up. I don't have the words with me, but he said, we are proud to have the BVI as part of our family of nations. That may not be the exact words, but it's very close to what he said. And you can look it up, it's a statement there. And he said that the overseas territories we should be grateful to them for the fact that all the efforts they've taken over the past 3 years to get to where we are today.
Okay.
It's up there in Parliament. He said it very, very clearly.
Okay. I want to feel more secure that if I'm going to have a relationship with the British, and if I am going to be British, that I'm secure that the British is going to look out for my interests and to make sure that our interests are not in conflict, to the point where you protect yourself and throw me under the bus.
Remember who I am. I am the Governor of the Virgin Islands, the appointment of Her Majesty. I do not work for Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom. That is a different thing. So when you talk to me about you, stop putting me, John Duncan OBE, the governor of the British Virgin Islands, in the same camp as the British government sitting in London, because we're not in the same camp. I occupy a different space.
Okay. All right. Point taken.
All right.
But anyhow, we finally turned it o'clock.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, make it seem like everything is bad with the British because of the financial services thing. And I wanted to give an opportunity for you to, to say some good things about the relationship. Because I suspect there are some good things about the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we gotta go.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So
21st. Remember that date. That's our next upcoming date. 21st, which is a Thursday, is a public holiday. We want you to come out and celebrate with us. Come to the march. You'll see school children, organizations, the police, fire, prison. It's a good occasion. It's going to be a quiet afternoon, but it's going to be filled with a lot of action. Pageantry. And I think you should
and
come.
our heritage, yeah. I expect to see you there, with hat.
Yes.
And I hope that the viewers will come, because it really is going to be a fun day. Okay. And it's about celebrating the British part of our heritage. There are other parts of it, but that's the day when we can celebrate the British part.
Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you have to manage your expectations carefully. But it's always good to see you. And of course, I look forward to having you on Spotlight anytime you wish.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you, of course, David. It's good to see you as well.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a break for word from our sponsor. When we come back, we're going to come back with members of the BVI Trade Expo, and we're going to talk about all the fun things coming up this Saturday in support of BVI businesses and keeping the money circulating in the economy and making sure that we grow our businesses to the point where they remain sustainable for many, many, many years, and we create generations of wealth and pass it down to our families and our children. Keep it locked right at Spotlight. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited, the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, and CCT Global Communications.